Hey everybody, welcome to spring and Outback cooking and the Outback kitchen here out in our backyard today. In the spirit of simplicity and awesomeness, we're going to be making a recipe called Mexican lasagna. This is one of my very favorite recipes, one of the very first recipes I learned to cook. It comes from the kitchen of, you guessed it, my mom, Jeri Anderson. This was an easy recipe, one of my favorites as a kid. I took it to college with me whenever I wanted to be the chief dude in the kitchen. I would cook up this recipe. I was a winner. You can be a winner too, Joe. You just got to follow this recipe. From the kitchen of Jeri, J-E-R-I. Mexican lasagna. 1.5 pounds ground beef, cooked. 1 teaspoon of seasoning salt. 1 package of your favorite taco seasoning mix. 1 cup tomatoes, fresh or canned. 2 8-ounce cans of tomato sauce. 1 4-ounce can of chopped green chilies. 8 ounce of ricotta or cottage cheese. 2 eggs. 10 ounces of Monterey cheese, grated corn tortillas. 9. Directions: brown the meat. Add your salt, taco mix, tomatoes, tomato sauce, and chilies. Simmer about 10 minutes. Combine ricotta cheese and eggs in a 9x13 pan or a 12-inch Dutch oven. Spread half the meat mixture, then half the tortillas, and half the ricotta mixture, and half the grated cheese. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Bake at 350 for 20 to 30 minutes. Let stand rest before serving. We are going to substitute and tweak the recipe. I've learned to like some things and not dislike anything. I've just learned to like some things better. We're going to substitute in for the tomato sauce today some Brushfire barbecue sauce, as well as some red chili sauce. That will be the sub for the tomato sauce, and we are also going to substitute what I have. I have elk hamburgers. It calls for 1.5 pounds of ground beef. If you got that in your kitchen, go ahead and use that. That's what the recipe calls for. Today, this is what I have in my freezer with some elk hamburgers, so we're going to use that up. We are going to cook this outside. Since it's so beautiful, we're going to cook this outside over our campfire in our backyard. But this recipe is a very simple recipe. Although it looks like lots of ingredients here, we're going to pare this down just a little bit. It's an easy recipe that can be prepared in probably 15 minutes. It's awesome as leftovers. So if you want to prepare this, throw it in your fridge for a few days, munch on that during the week, college kids. This is a perfect college kid recipe. Like I mentioned, we're going to cook this on the Dutch oven, but it also can be transferred to a 9x13 pan. The same recipe would fit in a 9x13 pan just perfectly. We are going to cook with our field skillet here over the campfire. We're going to brown our hamburger in that to begin with, and then we will layer our casserole here in this Dutch oven and give that a cook. If you're in your own kitchen, like I mentioned, you can brown that in a Dutch oven on your stovetop, skillet, however you want to do it, and then a 9x13 pan. Let's get started, Joe. First things first, we're going to warm up this skillet over our campfire and fry some beef in there. One and a half to 2 pounds of ground beef, or elk burger if you got it. Lowry's seasoned salt, because my wife likes Lowry's seasoned salt. Dutch oven, Santa Fe trail seasoning. This is our version of Southwest seasoning. If you don't have this in your cupboard, grab your favorite Southwest seasoning. A bit of salt to taste. That's all it takes. My mom always liked to use an ice cream scoop. That was our favorite tool, so I'm going to use that today. It might even be hers, not for sure. That's hot. I need a paper towel real quick. Oh. Tom Cruise. Track season. Beef seasoned and browned. I'm gonna throw all that here in this fancy dancy bowl that I've got, stir bowl. All right, 1 8-ounce can of tomatoes, diced tomatoes, 2 8-ounce cans of tomato sauce, and a 4-ounce can of chopped green chilies. I like to use a smaller cut. We're gonna use this petite diced tomato. I found a Southwest style with lime juice and cilantro. You can use this straight up, just plain diced tomatoes, or what I'm going to use today is petite diced tomatoes with chipotle peppers. I thought that would pair really nice with our Mexican lasagna. So 1 14-ounce can of that. In lieu of the tomato sauce, I am going to use 1 8-ounce bottle of Brushfire. This has chili peppers in here, 3 different chili peppers. It's going to have a little bit of barbecue flavor to it, but it's got some interesting Southwest notes in here, and I think you'll find this pretty attractive for using in a recipe like this. It's a great recipe for Mexican lasagna. Brushfire works well on lots of Southwest dishes. Brushfire pairs well with a lot of Southwest type dishes, including Texas beef brisket. Brushfire kind of comes at you hot and fast. If you've heard me say that before, like a West Texas brushfire. That's where we got the name. Eight ounces of that. Remember, that's in lieu of 1 can of tomato sauce. Tomato sauce is great, but it's not that great. Next, we're going to use 8 ounces of red chili sauce. This is just straight up, there's nothing added to this. We are going to add our own seasoning, so try to find a red chili sauce that's not full of a lot of other flavors. 28-ounce can, that's too much. We're going to add 8 ounces of that. Next ingredient, 4 ounces of Hatch green chilies. This is one of my favorite brands. This is a 16-ounce bottle, so 1/4 of that. Look at that, perfect. Give that a little stir. Oh boy.
I have noticed you seem to have a few just like innate superpowers.
Really?
And one of those seems to be your estimation of measurements. Because I would bet if we measured like your chili sauce pour, it would be right about exactly 8 ounces.
It might be.
Like you can predict you can determine the weather to the exact degree. You've done that before on camera.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if
try
you.
that today.
What temp do you think it is right now?
Right now, 67.
Ooh, close. 64 according to my watch.
64 was my first gut, and I just felt like it was warmer than
should have gone with it.
The sun. I don't know what the deal is. I was going to go with 64. Transfer this beef. If you guys are in your kitchen, you got another bowl, go ahead and use that. I'm short of bowls here, so I'm going to use a pan. Transfer that back to the pan. Don't look at that too much because we're going to change that, but I need a pan to simmer my sauce. I just like to bring those flavors together a little bit, and to do that we want to use some heat. So I'm going to put that back in my skillet. We're going to throw that back on the fire for roughly 10 minutes and get a little simmer to that. That Brushfire, that is going to be perfect in there. We're going to add 16 ounces of ricotta cheese and 2 eggs. Now, my mother's recipe calls for, or a variation calls for, cottage cheese. I'm not a big cottage cheese fan. If I eat it, I like small curd cottage cheese. In this recipe in particular, I like ricotta cheese. It just gives me a little bit little bit more of the texture I'm after. Can't call these cackleberries. 2 cackleberries. Did I make that look more difficult than it actually is?
That one looked fantastic.
Fantastic, all right. Simmered our sauce over the stovetop. In our case, we simmered it over our fire. I'm gonna take a spoonful of that. How about 2 spoonfuls of that? Lay that down on the bottom of my pan just to get a little something there so my tortillas don't stick. Then we're gonna make 2 layers, folks, of corn tortillas. Now, if you're a flour tortilla person, you can use flour tortillas. I prefer corn tortillas for this recipe. So I will use 5 in the bottom of my 12-inch Dutch. Just layer those in there so it covers well. Next step, we're going to use half of the ricotta cheese mixture. We'll spread that over our tortillas. It's not rocket science, folks, just good food, good cooking right here. Good cowboy cooking, or college dorm room cooking. There we go. Half of that. Then we're gonna use half of the burger mixture. I've got 2 pounds of ground beef here, folks. If you don't have that much, if you wanna go lighter on the beef, more power to you. 1.5 pounds. I went a little heavy on the beef today. Then we'll layer in half of the sauce mixture here. And repeat. Then to finish that off, we're going to top that off with some shredded cheese. I've got a Mexican 4-cheese blend today, Monterey Jack, cheddar, asadero, and quesadilla cheeses. Whatever you might find is going to work, guarantee you that. We are ready for the fire again. Last phase of this cook, we're going to cook this at 350 degrees for 20 to 30 minutes. I'll show you how to do that with a fire, but pretty simple in your oven. All you do is push that button, the 3, the 5, the 0, that's 350. Set your timer for 20 to 30 minutes. Take a look at it. If you feel like you need to cover that for the first section, then pull off the foil to finish it up for the last 10 minutes. You can eyeball that. 350 degrees. If you're using charcoals, give you the 3 up, 3 down rule, which is my size of my Dutch oven. Tells me my base number. 3 charcoals above that on top, 3 charcoals below that on the bottom. So in other words, if I'm shooting for a 350 degree oven, 9 coals on the bottom, 15 on top. This is a little more artsy today. I'm using a hot fire. gonna go ahead and use roughly the equivalent of 15 coals on top. We got a nice day, no wind, so pretty efficient fire today. We'll rotate the lid a little bit as we cook along here every 5 or 10 minutes, just so we don't get a hot spot. And of course I'm going to check on it. If I feel like I got too hot of a fire, I'll pull some of these coals out from the bottom. Looking good. I think we might call it good. What do you think?
Looks good to me.
Joe's starving over here. Let's get it going. Okay, folks, 25 minutes in the Lodge 12-inch Dutch oven over the campfire. Let's have a peek at that. Woo-wee! Ah! Telling you what. I thought I heard a bunch of people trying to get in here.
They smelled it. They're coming.
Well, we better give it 5 minutes, Joe.
5 minutes.
5 minutes to rest up, and then we'll hit it. All right, let's give this stuff a whirl. How much do you want? You want half, Joe?
Yeah.
Taste test time. There we go. Mexican lasagna. Dutch oven style. Putting that one in the cookbook, Joe. There's nothing wrong with that. Easy. Great for leftovers. Incorporates all the good flavors. It's got just a little kick to it. I think that Brushfire brings out a little bit of kick. Again, folks, if you don't have a Brushfire, first thing is get it. But until you can get it, if you need to use this red enchilada sauce, you can sub that in the recipe. Check the recipe in the link below, or something like that. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in again. See you next week.